and welcome to the Manic Pixie Dream Vlog. I'm your host, Caroline Georges, and welcome today. So, I've had a lot to think about today. Comedian Chris Delia has been called out and is in the process of being canceled right now. So here's the thing, he's being accused of grooming, of trying to sleep with underage girls. As far as I know, from what I've read and I've spent the entire day on Twitter and online reading all these articles and reading all of this stuff, you know what I mean? So as far as I know, he hasn't actually had sex with an underage girl. He says, so I guess the situation is, for those of you that aren't familiar, so Chris Delia, he's a comedian. I know him. I'll get into how I know him later in a little bit, but basically, Chris Delia is basically being accused of trying to solicit sex and nudes and engaging in inappropriate behavior with underage girls, and that's something I really think there needs to be a huge conversation about that. There has to be a huge conversation about that, about power dynamics, about consent, about the thing is, when I first moved to LA, and I was like 21 or something, really young, I was 21, I started dating a guy who was like in his early 30s, and here's the thing, like, even though he was in his early 30s and I was in my early 20s, and our relationship, like the age difference maybe really wasn't that inappropriate or anything, or definitely not, not inappropriate for Los Angeles, that's for sure. Here's the thing, like age differences in Los Angeles are actually really common. It's just, there's a lot of dudes. This is going to be quite the vlog. I'm just going to try and stay on subject and just bring up as much points as I can. Again, this has given me a lot to think about. Here's basically how I know Chris Delia. Chris Delia knows I was sexually assaulted by the comic who sexually assaulted me. Chris Delia knows. He's been informed. I don't want to get into, the details of who informed him or what happened, but Chris Delia knows. Chris Delia knows who I am, and he knows that I was sexually assaulted by his friend and by a comic that opens for him. Chris Delia hasn't changed anything. He's just, okay, cool. So he sexually assaulted that girl. All right, well, that's not my business. I really don't know what happened. I really don't. I don't know anything. Except that Chris Delia still lets the guy who he's been informed sexually assaulted me, he still lets this guy open for him. And so that's what I know. That's really what I know about Chris Delia. Is that so I don't know anything really except for that my sexual assailant opens for him, and Chris Delia knows and has been informed that I have accused him of sexual assault. And so that has given me a huge amount of anxiety, because it's just like, well, shoot, Chris Delia isn't going to want to help me. Chris Delia isn't going to want to do anything to support me. The more subscribers I get, the more followers I get, the more exposure I get, the more of a voice I get, the more of a reach I get, the more of a following I get. That's the power that I have to destroy Chris Delia's friend and have him canceled. What's going on in the situation with Chris Delia is very serious. Cancel culture is very serious. It's a very serious thing. But what do we do? What are we supposed to do? How do we handle these situations so that everyone wins? Because the thing is, if I don't know who Chris Delia's friends are, who's giving him advice, but who is Chris Delia's friend saying, hey dude, if she looks like she's younger than 25, don't talk to her. You know what I mean? Dude, you're 40 years old. If she looks like she's under 25 years old, why are you even talking to her? You know? What's with these men, these grown, these old men, these older men, and their obsession with young women? It's really, I guess it's like there's something about it that's DNA, right? I mean, come on. I mean, if this were 500 years ago, I mean, somebody Chris Delia's age marrying a 12-year-old girl would have been nothing anyone had thought twice about. That's just how it was. But, you know, life expectancies, you know, men would have multiple wives. It was common for men to have multiple wives because they would marry young girls, get these young girls pregnant, and these young girls would die in childbirth or disease and that sort of thing. Life expectancy back then, you know what I mean? You have to think about all these factors of why older men were marrying young girls, why relationships with young girls was important. You know what I mean? You have to see it and respect it and understand it, right? And so, but that's not the day and age anymore. We have the privilege of being able to be in relationships with people who have had the same amount of life experience as us. Don't you want to be in relationships with people that have had a certain amount of life experience that's equal to yours? Because that should be preferable. And I don't know. I just I did go out a few times with a friend of Chris Delia's, and my experience with him wasn't great. I mean, it was until it wasn't. Here's the thing. There are some guys who don't really ask you out on a date. They kind of hire you to be their date. So in exchange for, you know, going and doing this, like, you know, this really fun and exciting thing, like going to the beach and being at a resort, or going to this really great party in the, you know, in the hills, or that sort of thing. All of these things, you kind of like, you agree to go on those dates, but at the same time, like, you're sort of hired. They hire you. You're not there because you're stimulating conversation, if that makes sense. You're there because you look a certain way, and when you're at those parties and when you're with those men, you are I don't want to say second-class citizen, but you really aren't important. You can be an entirely different person and no one would notice that you're gone. As long as your seat's being kept warm, you know, you're doing your job, and that's fine. But you're not seen. And it really isn't fun. It really isn't fun. It's like when I tried modeling. I remember modeling, and I remember sitting in the chair, and I had, like, there was three women working on my hair, because it was like some sort of curling, like curls, like some sort of product for curls. It was Redican or something. It was Redican, but it was like for curls. And so there's three girls working on my hair, and none of them talked to me. None of them looked me in the eye. And I had an understanding what the job was, sitting in that chair and having those three women do my hair. There was nothing about it that was nurturing. It didn't feel like I was getting my hair done by my hairstylist, Liz. It didn't feel like my mother was brushing my hair. It didn't feel like, there was nothing about sitting in that chair getting my hair done that felt good. I was there to do a job. And I hated it. I really hated it. I didn't like it. I'm far too body conscious and far too insecure to, like, be good at modeling and stuff. I just didn't have the confidence for it. But, gosh, I just, that's what it's like. Sitting in that chair getting your hair done by three hairstylists. That's what it's like. That's what it's like being around guys like Chris Delia and dating guys like Chris Delia. That's what it's like. You are on the menu for the night. And if you can accept that, and if you can be okay with that, and if you can be like, all right, I just want a good time too. What's the deal? What are we doing? What's the situation? All right, cool. Like, nice. This thing, we could go do that. That sounds like a fun thing to do. Let's go do it. You know what I mean? All right, I'll play the part. I'll be the girl at the party, you know? But when I went out with Chris Delia's friend, we went out three times. And I think he was, and so we went out, the third time we went out, I went home with him, and he was too drunk to get an erection, so we didn't actually end up having sex. But we fooled around, you know, I mean, we got naked, we like, you know, it was, you know, he had this beautiful house in the Hollywood Hills, you know what I mean? He was a rich guy, he was a rich, good-looking guy with a lot of connections and with a lot of power. I don't think I'm a superficial person. I don't think I'm a superficial or vapid person. But there is something to that. You know, there was something to that. There was something about that situation that made me feel special. That a rich good-looking guy who has a house in the Hollywood Hills wanted to take me out and show me a good time and spend money on me, whatever. You know what I mean? That he was doing that for me, and that made me feel good. And I wanted to respond by having sex with him. I don't know. Is that horrible? Is that wrong? No, it's not. But it doesn't have to be. At least it doesn't have to be. It's all good, you know. But this is what happened. So in the morning, he shook me awake, and he said, "I just called an Uber. It's gonna be here in a few minutes. You have to go." And I was shocked. I was like, what the fuck? Is he just kicking me out of his house like 2 minutes after I just woke up? He's waking me up from my sleep, from my beauty sleep, to like put me in an Uber and send me fucking home. He's not even gonna make me coffee. He's not making me breakfast. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck? You know what I mean? It was upsetting. I was upset. That was so shitty. What a shitty thing to do. What a shitty way to make someone feel. Fuck him. You know? But here's the thing. That's Chris Delia. That's who Chris Delia is. If somebody is guilty by association, that's who Chris Delia is. Chris Delia has girls running in and out of a revolving door all the fucking time. And they're young girls. So you know what? I'm going to give Chris Delia the benefit of the doubt. He did not know these girls were underage when he pursued them. He did not know that they were underage. But you know what? They looked young. They looked fucking young. Why are you going after girls that look that young? It's because Chris Delia was a nerd in high school. Trust me on this one. Okay, sorry. Like, I mean, if I can just like contribute my like strippery, you know, stuff to the conversation. Guys like Chris Delia, here's the thing. He wasn't like a stud in high school. He wasn't a stud in college. He found that in comedy, and he found that in acting. So before he was doing anything with comedy and acting, Chris Delia probably wasn't doing very much at all. You know what I mean? As far as girls go, as far as you know, he was probably doing just as well as any other guy. And but yeah, Chris Delia was a nerd in high school. He didn't get laid. He was awkward. And so now all those girls that he couldn't get in high school, which, I mean, sorry, but like high school boys are so fucking horny. They see all of these pretty girls all around. They can't have sex. They're frustrated. I mean, that creates a fetish. That does create a fetish. Guys who don't get laid in high school sort of fetishize young high school girls. They do. And it's a fetish. Innocence, lack of experience. Men like that kind of thing. You know, my stepbrother, this isn't really going to go anywhere, but I remember my stepbrother, like, he lost his virginity. He lost his virginity in high school to his girlfriend, what's her face, I forget. And she wasn't a virgin. She wasn't a virgin. And so he told me that he wished she was, because he wanted to lose his virginity to someone who was also losing their virginity to him. And then, so my stepbrother ended up having, after his that girlfriend, the next girl he dated, she was a virgin. And so my stepbrother took her virginity. And he said that it wasn't about him being a virgin, it was about the girl being a virgin, turns out. There was something about virgin girls that my stepbrother wanted to experience. It's not wrong. It's just, I mean, he was like, 18, 19, you know what I mean, when a girl lost her virginity to him, you know what I mean? It's not like something he held on to for years and years and years and finally did it when he was in his 30s or something like that. No. But yeah, I don't know. I always just, like, why do you want to be, it's never occurred to me or appealed to me to want to be somebody's first, or to want somebody else to be the first for me. It's never occurred to me. Like, I don't think women want to own and possess men. I think men want to own and possess women, and they want to experience that in these small ways. And unfortunately, the best and only place that they can experience having dominance and control over a woman, no holds bar, is in the bedroom. You know what I mean? Once you get consent, of course. But like, there is something to young girls and the appeal of young girls. And if you are the father of a teenage girl or of a junior high girl, I would be very concerned that the world holds room for men like Chris Delia to be in it. Because trust me, these situations are very traumatizing. And I'll tell you about mine. I wasn't statutory raped. My friend was. But I witnessed it. I didn't watch them, obviously. That would have been too much, even for me. No, I didn't. So this is what happened. So I went to Las Vegas with so basically, growing up, I didn't have much growing up, and I still don't. I didn't have much growing up. I lived in a 2-bedroom apartment with my dad. But here's the thing. This is what I did. I made friends with all the rich, popular girls. I became friends with all the rich, popular girls. And then, so my dad's apartment was close to the school. So it was like really close to the school. So we could skip class, we can come on lunch and stuff and just go and hang out in my dad's house, in my dad's apartment. And then for slumber parties and other things, we would just have it at other girls' houses, like big houses and stuff like that. So because we couldn't have slumber parties at my house, because my dad it was too small, so we couldn't have slumber parties there, which is always a little bit of a heartache for me. I always wanted to host a slumber party, and I never got to. And so that was our thing. And so but I didn't have much. I didn't have much money. And so one of my girlfriends, she her family was going on a trip to Las Vegas. And so she invited me, and there she was like, it was just this, oh my gosh, like I couldn't believe it. Like it was like winning the lottery. I got an all expenses paid trip to Las Vegas when I was 15 to be with my friend, my best friend. Like what better situation? See, I don't know about the situations with Chris Delia and knowing what the girls' ages were. Those girls' ages were. But in my situation, the guy, he definitely knew. We were on MySpace. Our ages were listed on MySpace. So he definitely knew. He definitely had to have known. And so my friend and I, we got bored in Las Vegas. Like, there was really not much for us to do. And her parents, she gave me $600 and she gave her $600. So they were like, just go and have fun and be safe. And then it was like, okay, cool. So we spent all the money in like 1 or 2 days. And then we just started hanging out in this hotel room for the rest of the trip. That was the plan. We ran out of money, we ran out of spending money, so we were just going to hang out in the hotel room for the rest of the week, right? And I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. Well, fine. And so we were just like watching TV, watching movies, hanging out in this hotel room, bored as hell. And we were on MySpace. And then so we started talking to a guy on MySpace, and he was 26. He was really sexy. He was an actor. That he knew we were 15. Anyways, so we get this guy. I don't know what we start talking to him about. Like, just, anyways, we talk to him, and then we tell him the hotel we're staying at, and we invite him to come to the hotel to, like, get food with us at the hotel, like get McDonald's with us or something like that. We were 15. We probably literally did invite this guy to come to the hotel, to come to the casino we were staying at and get McDonald's with us. We probably did. Thinking, I mean, honestly, like, you have to understand, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I have to speak for her as well. Neither of us knew what we were doing or what was going to happen. I assure you. I promise you. I am speaking on behalf of myself, and I am speaking on behalf of my friend. I'm convinced. Neither of us knew what was going on or what was going to happen. We were just having fun. And we were trying to keep ourselves occupied while we were staying in Las Vegas, and we were very bored. So anyways, so he comes to the hotel, and get this, he can't find parking. He can't find parking anywhere. No parking spots at a casino. And anyways, so he tells us that he can't find a place to park. And so he suggests that we leave the casino and go get food elsewhere. And he suggests Chili's restaurant, Chili's. And so here's the thing, I'm from Juneau, Alaska. I'm not bragging. There's nothing to be proud of. It's a little buttfuck town right in the midst of Alaska. It's very cold, very wet, lots of ocean, lots of mountains, lots of fresh air. And also lots of rape too. Like, I mean, that's the thing. This is a joke I have. Because I joke about how, like, I grew up in Alaska where it was like I was being, like, harassed and, like, I just had a horrible time growing up in Juneau, Alaska. I had a horrible time having a childhood in Juneau, Alaska, being the most beautiful girl in a small town where, like, rape is the most per capita than any other state in the country. It was really hard growing up in my hometown. It was really hard. It wasn't easy. I remember growing up and boys used to snap my bra strap. They used to snap my bra strap all the time. And then, like, years later, I'm, like, reading on Jezebel.com or whatever, and it's like, oh, that's a problem? They weren't supposed to do that? That was sexual harassment? What? Like, I mean, it's like that. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't like boys snapping my bra strap growing up. I didn't like that. But they did it. They did it anyway. They did whatever they wanted. That's what boys do. They do whatever the fuck they want. They do whatever the fuck they want. Y'all just do whatever the fuck you want. And anyways. So growing up in Juneau, Alaska, yeah, there was not much else in the world I could think of better than Chili's restaurant. I'm sorry, just like the potato skins. Those potato skins, they're so good. They're so good. Like, no matter how many fancy restaurants I eat at, no matter how, like, much, like, just really good, just, like, food, like, just really, like, with olive oil and salt and just, like, just, like, and good, like, really nice meat and stuff, just, like, all of the good foods from, like, really good restaurants, you know what I mean? Potato skins at Chili's, so good. Just, why spend, $50 on, like, a plate of oysters when you could spend $8 on a plate of potato skins, Well, oysters are better for you. They're also better for your hormones. They make you horny. So I guess, yeah, spend 50 on the oysters than potato skins. But still, you know what I mean. Those potato skins. So anyways, so in Las Vegas, me and my friend, we got into this this complete stranger, this stranger's car in Las Vegas, and we drove into the night to Chili's, to what I would have been the best case scenario would have been Chili's. There was no guarantees, but I had to take that risk. And I played the game and I lost. So the statutory rapist actually ended up not taking us to Chili's. He took us back to his apartment right away. Which is like, so yeah, I know, what a piece of shit, right? Like, fuck him. He's not even going to take us to Chili's. He's not even going to take us to Chili's before he takes us back to his apartment to try and statutory rape us. Those are the kind of guys that hit on young girls. Those are the kind of men that prey on young girls. The kind of men that'll tell you they're going to take you to Chili's to get potato skins, but then take you back to their apartment and statutory rape your friend. That's them. Nailed it. That's the criminal profile of a statutory rapist. Anyways, so we went back to his apartment, and I sound like I'm exaggerating when I put it this way. The apartment was covered floor to ceiling in pornography, like posters, like just DVDs and stuff. It was porn all over. It was just it was a very and so I was just like in shock. And so I said this is what I said. I was like, oh my gosh, do you watch porn? And then he said, no, I do not watch porn. This is my ex-girlfriend's porn. She left it here when she moved out, and now I'm stuck with it. So at that moment, believe it or not, I was completely relieved. I was so happy that this guy, it turns out this man who took these two 15-year-old girls from Alaska out of our hotel room, out of the casino we were staying at, away from the parents that were there to protect us from men like that. You know, I was so relieved. Oh, thank God he's not a pervert. You know what I mean? Oh, thank God. You know, it's his ex-girlfriend's porn. He's just stuck with it, you know. And so we ended up going back to his bedroom. We go back to his bedroom. We're just all sitting on the bed. And yeah, I just remember, I don't know, like I try and like kind of think of like details or something like that, like just something, I don't know, like I just remember her skirt. I just remember my friend's skirt. And it was my skirt. And my mom bought it for me online. And it was she bought it for me on eBay for my birthday, and it was a skirt that was used in this movie that I liked. So it was like a skirt that was like, it was a prop in a movie, so it was one of my favorite skirts, and it had beads on it, and but it was a short skirt. Like, why did my mom buy me, a 15-year-old girl, this short mini skirt with beads on it and send me to Las Vegas in it? Why would my mom let me do that? Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. It's just like the skirt, you know? And, because the thing is, 15-year-old girls should be allowed to wear short skirts. And they should be safe. That's the way the world should be, you know? I mean, maybe it's not, but that's how it should be. So we were sitting on the bed, and then so he starts leaning over to me to kiss me. And then I pull away, and this is what I say to him. I say, please don't. I've never been kissed before. And that wasn't true. I had been kissed before. But in that moment, I knew to lie. That was the first time in my life I ever lied to a man to get out of sex. And that was the lie. Usually it's just like, oh, I have a headache. You know what I mean? But in this situation, it's different. Anyways. Yes. But with the whole... I don't think Chris Delia is canceled. I don't. I mean, I have heard, I posted a tweet about him today, and then a friend of mine messaged me, and she was like, you should take that down because of the stuff that's going to be coming out. So there's girls who are talking to journalists right now. And apparently, this is all secondhand information. This is secondhand information that is secondhand information from a reliable source. But I think there's going to be an underage girl who's going to come forward and say that when she was underage, Chris Delia sexually assaulted her. I don't know if that's true. I don't know what's going to happen. But according to my friend who's speaking to somebody who would know about what's going on in this situation, because this friend, she asked me if she could connect me with people to have me tell my story with what's going on. But I don't know what's going to happen. I probably shouldn't have even have said that because nothing might happen. Nothing might happen. Maybe Chris Delia didn't sexually assault a 17-year-old girl. Maybe it really genuinely is. He just likes younger women, and these girls, like, he genuinely thought that they were 20. You know what I mean? Which still, like, he's been at this for a long time. He's been making these mistakes for a long time. And I don't think he's being canceled for being a predator. I think he's being canceled for being an asshole. It seems like he was being kind of an asshole to these women. It sounds like he wasn't being very nice to these girls. You know, and that is my theory. I really believe when false rape claims come forward, when somebody comes forward with a false rape claim, I really genuinely believe it's because the person that she's accusing was an asshole. You know what I mean? Let's give her that much. I'm sure he was probably a huge dick to her. She probably is coming forward with these false rape claims because she feels like what he did that was so wrong is equal to rape, which isn't true. But still, not everyone knows that. Some people really, I mean, I don't know. What do we do? How do we do this? How do we address these issues? How do we address these issues? What are we supposed to do? We need to talk about this. Statutory rape is a big deal. Statutory rape is a huge deal. Young girls getting preyed upon by older men is a big deal. It is. And we need to protect women. We do. So what do we do? What the fuck do we do? Because I don't know. I don't know how I feel about, like, people getting canceled. You know what I mean? I mean, if Chris Delia, I mean, as far as anyone knows, Chris Delia did not have sex with any of these girls. He did not have sex with any of them. So you can't ruin somebody's life for not committing a crime who didn't commit a crime. He was just being a creep. And that's, I mean, to no one in the comedy scene, that is not surprising. Chris Delia is one of those people where it's like there's a lot of there's a lot of different opinions. There are some people in the comedy scene where it's like you will hear nothing but good things about them. Nothing but good things. And then there are other people in the comedy scene where it's like you hear a lot of negativity, where you hear a lot of people having a negative opinion about that person. And then you hear some people where it's like there's sort of a mix, you know what I mean, where it's like some people hate them, some people love them, and that sort of thing. And those always tend to be the best people. Those always tend to be the individuals, the people who are loved or hated, you know. But and Chris Delia did seem that way. People either loved him or hated him. People were either like, oh yeah, Chris is a cool guy, I like him a lot, or they were like, he's a piece of shit, I saw him do this. You know what I mean? It's one or the other. It's always one or the other. But I don't know. You know, growing up, when I was around like 7 or 8 years old, I walked in on my dad masturbating in my bedroom. And I just looked at him and I screamed and I laughed and I ran away and I went downstairs and watched TV or something like that. And then, I don't know, and then I was just kind of like thinking about it. And so this is what happened. After I caught him masturbating, my dad switched rooms. So he switched his room into me and my sister's room, and then switched our rooms into his room. And so I finally asked him about it, and I was like, what was the deal with that? And then, because I mean, like, we lived in a 2-bedroom apartment all throughout junior high and high school and stuff. So I mean, it was like throughout most of junior high and high school, or anyways, through high school and some of junior high, I lived with my dad in this 2-bedroom apartment. And I asked him about it, so anyways, just growing up with my dad, living in a 2-bedroom apartment, it was just like, he saw me naked. It's nothing incestuous there. My dad had just seen me naked, you know what I mean? Because we lived in a 2-bedroom apartment together. We didn't have much space. And so, in turn, I have walked in on my dad masturbating kind of quite a lot, you know? And, yeah, anyways, but, so, anyways, I caught my dad masturbating. This was in, like, and he was in my bedroom, in my childhood bedroom, masturbating, and it was so upsetting. It was kind of shocking. And so I finally asked him about it. I was like, I caught you masturbating, and you, like, switched the rooms. Were you, like, so embarrassed that you caught that I caught you masturbating? And he said, no, nothing like that. In the building across the street, there was a girl who used to watch TV naked. So I used to watch her from your window and masturbate, and then when you came home, I just decided it was best to switch rooms. See, sometimes I feel like people attack my dad for being a bad father because I'm a stripper, and I really feel like that's unfair. I think my dad was a great dad. He switched rooms. He switched the rooms. So he could be in the room where he could masturbate to the girl across the street watching TV naked. So Chris Delia, it's time to switch rooms. No more young girls. If she looks like she's under 25, don't talk to her. But yeah, my dad's interesting. I miss him so much. I really miss my dad a lot. He was supposed to come up and visit, and he never was able to because of COVID and stuff, but I miss my dad so much. You know, another funny thing about my dad, my sister and I used to have these, like, psychotic cat fights growing up. My sister and I, we would just have these psychotic cat fights, just, like, horrifying, right? Like, and my dad would just freak out, start screaming. He would throw a plate. He would throw the phone. He would scream at us, like, tell one of us to leave the house, tell one of us to go to the room. Like, my dad just couldn't handle it. He just couldn't handle it. And so my dad's an epileptic, and so sometimes our fights would trigger his seizures. So my dad would, like, have, like, a full-born seizure on the floor. Like, he would just pass out. Like, he would, like, you know, get tired, pass out, and then he would just, like, relax for a minute. Then he'd start shaking, and then he would fall asleep, and then he'd wake up after, like, 20 minutes, and everything was fine and stuff. But so this would happen sometimes after me and my sister, when I would get into these psychotic cat fights. And so it turns out my sister and I, we never actually did trigger my dad's seizures. My dad would just fake having seizures to get me and my sister to stop fighting. So it's not his fault I'm a stripper. It's not. But I don't like Twitter. I don't like cancel culture. I don't like Twitter. I don't like it. I don't like the idea of it. It just seems so... We need to bring back dueling. Hear me out. We had dueling for a really long time. Because you know why? Society understood there are some disputes that just can't be settled in the court of law. That's true, isn't it? Isn't that true? And I just find it so bizarre. I find it so bizarre. I was raped. Y'all, I was fucking raped. And the guy just walked away and got away with it. I think it's, I mean, I'm sorry, I don't want to sound psychotic, but isn't like, I mean, I just find it crazy that there are no options for me to legally murder my rapist. I think that's crazy. And I think that if people are really serious about the shit that they're saying to the people they're saying it to, then dude, put on your dueling guns, let's go. You versus me, let's address that insult. You know? Because then these teenage girls, you know what I mean? There's like something they can actually like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I know it sounds wacky, but like having a duel, having an actual like way of combating the conflict happening between two people just seems like, you know, I'm sorry, but it's like, I mean, isn't free speech, I don't agree with what you're saying, but I die for your right to say it. See, I agree with what I'm saying so much that I would die for the things I'm saying to come into fruition. So if you're really for the First Amendment, then you should be for dueling, I think, if that makes sense. Not the First Amendment. Well, it's expression. It's an expression of justice, isn't it? It's an expression... And the opponent can always turn down the duel. And they'll be forever called a coward. Because that's what rapists are. They're cowards. Anyways. It's just so bizarre to me to see everything that's just been going on. It's just been so bizarre. And I'm sorry if that last part didn't make much sense. But anyways, dueling. Let's talk about it. Can we have this conversation? I know it sounds crazy, but you know what? They're locking us in our homes for months. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's time we can kind of revisit duels. You know, like if we're doing quarantine, like, okay, you know what? If we're gonna quarantine in our homes, you know, for months and destroy the economy and just stop working. You know, maybe we can, you know, maybe we can come up with some other ideas that can help society in some way. Duels. Because there's some fate. There's something about that that's fate. You know, that's what's weird. You know, like everyone's always like so anti-Carol Baskin, but it's like there's something to be said. She got away with everything scot-free. And she seems to be kind of coming up on top wherever she goes. She seems to be winning. Is that a murderer? Because in the direction that everything is going for in her life, it seems that the universe would call this woman innocent of any wrongdoing. You know. If there's justice in the world, then wouldn't she have found it by now? So with duels, there's something about it that's sort of like romantic, or I don't know, not, what's the good word for it? But it's just like, for the longest time, I thought I was gonna die, you know, because of stuff that has happened to me. So if I was gonna die anyway, I might as well die defending my life for the people that tried to ruin it, you know? That's not so crazy. But, yeah, duels. And then also, like, aren't guns the great equalizer between men and women? Me with a gun and Chris Delia with a gun. We're both as dangerous. We're both as much of a threat to each other, you know? I'm only referencing Chris, not that I'm going to duel Chris Delia, but you know what I mean. He's like a big guy and that sort of thing, so it's like in the juxtaposition. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just an idea. But yeah, I really hope, you know what really bugged me about the Louis C.K. thing that always really stuck with me, that always really bugged me? You know what he did? Well, yeah, of course you know what he did. No, but this is what, so when he had those two women in the hotel room and like he jerked off and stuff, so when they left, and they left kind of in a hurry, I guess. They left sort of flustered, or as they described it, they left they were kind of like, you know, pulling their shoes on as they were like leaving, as they were running down the hallway. That's kind of how they described it. But Louis C.K. shouted at them as they were leaving, "What were you guys' names again?" And that was like an insult. That was an insult. He was like, he performed with them. He was on a lineup with these women. He had been talking to them the whole night. They went back to his hotel room. And he didn't know their names. And then he was rude. And as they were leaving, he asked them what their names were. Louis. See, that's where I'm like, what a monster. See, that's where it gets me. Like, or it's just like if you're gonna abuse someone, don't be rude. You know what I mean? Be nice, especially if you're gonna abuse them. Which we're all letting that one go. No, there was not. We're letting that one go. Sorry, and we're not gonna bring it up anymore. Let's move on. But yeah, like in Chris Delia, that situation where he brought these, like, I think there were these two 19-year-old girls, and he brought them back to his hotel room. Yeah, and these girls were like uncomfortable. They didn't want, like, what was he trying to do? Was he like trying to fuck both of these girls with his opener in a hotel room, like these young girls? Like, come on, no, like, I just, oh God, like, why are people like that? high school. That was fun in high school. Why would you want to be like that? Why would you want to still be like that? I don't want to be in high school anymore. I want to be an adult. I want to be a woman. Be a man. You know what I mean? Why are you trying to enjoy yourself like you're in high school? These young girls, you know? But then he whipped his dick out, and then, because these girls like basically got uncomfortable, he started rubbing one of their backs, and then they got uncomfortable and they decided they were going to leave, and then he exposed himself to them. And it's like, why are you being an asshole? Why are you being a piece of shit? These girls aren't interested. They don't want to fuck you. Why are you showing them your dick? Why are you being a piece of shit? You know? See, that's like what gets me. That's what gets me. Like being an asshole for the sake of being an asshole, and being an asshole to women for the sake of being an asshole to women, because that's what makes you a man so fucking great. That you can be a shitty to a woman and get away with it, and no one's gonna give a shit because you're a man. Well, anyways. No, but I hope that this can be a conversation. I hope that this is just, instead of it becoming a mission to cancel someone, it's a mission to be like, okay, this is going on. We need to talk about this. Older guys, young girls. How do we do this? How do we stop this from happening? How do we prevent this from happening? And how do we make sure it doesn't happen again? You know? I want a conversation. I don't want anyone canceled. I just want a conversation. All right, that's my time. That's the vlog that I wanted to do. Anyways, like and subscribe and share, and have a lovely night. Bye.